We'll hear from both vice presidential candidates, starting with Donald Trump's running mate, Indiana Governor Mike Pence, who is campaigning in Tampa. Welcome, Governor. I want to start with these allegations.
Thank you, John.
We have the tape from last week. Now 9 women have come forward basically claiming Donald Trump behaved just as he said in private. Shouldn't voters at least pay attention to this and try and figure this out? I mean, are they crazy to think there might not be something there?
Well, I think Donald Trump did what he needed to do last weekend. You know, I spoke out in my concern about the 11-year-old video that came forward. He went before the American people and said that he apologized to his family and he apologized to the people of this country and said he was embarrassed about what he'd said 11 years ago, but he made it clear that it was just talk, not actions. And in the days that followed, I know there's been unsubstantiated allegations that have been made, but Donald Trump's made it clear that he categorically denies those allegations. And we're going to continue to focus this campaign on, frankly, where the people of this country are focused, John. Over the course of this last week and in the midst of all of these issues swirling in the national media, I can tell you that the crowds that I saw here in Florida over the last several days, the crowds that gathered with him in New Hampshire and Maine last night, are focused on a stronger America at home and abroad, about reversing a course that's literally set wider parts of the world spinning apart under the foreign policy of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, and frankly, the policies that have stifled the American economy, particularly as it pertains to health care. And
let me ask you,
Donald
Governor.
Trump has a message that is enlivening and it's resonating with people all across this country, and we're going to fight the next 23 days to carry it all the way through Election Day.
Let me ask you this, Governor. You've spoken a lot in your career about character of the candidates, not relative to each other, but just relative to a standard. In 1992, Bill Clinton said, "I feel your pain." He was in touch with the voters. He spoke for them, and Democrats said that's what was important, not these character questions. It sounds like you're making a version of the same case for Donald Trump.
Well, not so. Obviously, history records that Bill Clinton didn't just talk about doing things, that he did them. It took a while to find all that out. He was under oath in 1998, and he finally came clean on having taken advantage of a 23-year-old intern at the White House named Monica Lewinsky, and in the most appalling behavior by an American president in the history of this country. Look, Donald Trump has made it very clear that he deeply regrets those words that he used 11 years ago, that they don't represent who he is, and that he has categorically denied these unsubstantiated
allegations. Let me ask you about those denials. What's really remarkable, though, John, is in a week where you have this series of unsubstantiated allegations, and of course there's competing evidence that's coming out regarding these particular incidents, we have an avalanche of hard evidence about Hillary Clinton's years as Secretary of State and the Clinton Foundation. We found out this week, because of another network's efforts, that while she was Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton actually, her team directed contracts for the reconstruction of Haiti after the earthquake to friends of the Clintons. This is exactly the kind of political favoritism that she said wasn't happening. I want to ask you about
and
your
it's being
candidate,
largely
though,
ignored by this network and largely ignored by the mainstream national media, John, and the American people frankly see right through it.
Let me ask you, Governor, about your candidate has responded to these allegations using the word sick, talking about the people who are making the allegations, says they're sick, horrible, phony, and he says that one of the women would not be his first choice. One of the claims you're making about Hillary Clinton is the way she treated Bill Clinton's accusers. Donald Trump is treating these accusers pretty roughly himself.
Donald Trump has made it clear that he categorically denies.
But what about the treatment of these people coming forward, sir?
Against him this week? Well, but John,
Sick,
what about calling half of our supporters a basket of deplorables? What
so
about
it's okay
the emails
if Hillary
that came
Clinton
out
does
this
it?
week?
Is it
what about the
two wrongs
emails
make a
this
right?
week that came out with the most anti-Catholic, anti-evangelical rhetoric that I've ever seen by anybody in a high position in public life? I mean, John, honestly, the reason why you see the resilience in our numbers around the country, the reason why you see such determination in the American people is frankly, people see an overwhelming bias in the national media, a willful ignorance about an avalanche of hard evidence about Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation in her years as Secretary of State, and end up putting above the fold and leading the news with these unconfirmed, unsubstantiated allegations. And I think it frankly is why we're just going to continue to fight every single day between now and Election Day
to change the direction of this country.
I understand.
The American people feel like, in a very real sense, that the Democrat Party and many of you in the media are working together to prevent the kind of change the American people long to see of a stronger and more prosperous America, and we're going to fight our way all the way to Election Day.
I appreciate that, Governor. I'm trying to deal with what your candidate is saying on the stump in real time right now. Another thing he's saying is that the election is rigged. My question is that a responsible thing for a candidate to say?
Well, I think what Donald Trump is talking about is, frankly, what appears to be the monolithic support of the national media for Hillary Clinton's campaign, their willful ignorance about the avalanche of hard evidence, not allegations, John, but hard evidence now coming out in these emails of collusion and pay-for-play politics. And the American people are just tired of it. Look, we'll respect the outcome of this election, John. Okay. Well, look, let me be very clear. Donald Trump said in the first debate that we'll respect the will of the American people in this election. The peaceful transfer of power is a hallmark of American history, and elections get really tough. But the American people are getting awful tired of this two-on-one fight with many of you in the national media doing half of Hillary Clinton's work for every day. All we're asking for is, while whatever you want to report about our campaign, let's get out there, let's let the facts speak for themselves. But let's get before the American people this avalanche of emails that is confirming pay-to-play politics and outright corruption during the Clinton years.
Governor, let me ask you a question, though. When Donald Trump talks about a rigged election, here's the way one of his supporters hears that. This is a quote from the Boston Globe from a Trump supporter said, "I'm going to go right up behind them," talking about being at polling places. Donald Trump has encouraged his supporters to watch the polling places. "I'll do everything legally. I want to see if they are accountable. I'm not going to do anything illegal. I'm going to make them a little bit nervous." That's the way they're hearing talk about rigged elections. Do you condone that kind of behavior?
Well, certainly not. I don't think any American should ever attempt to make any other American nervous in the exercise of their franchise to vote. But look, the states like my state of Indiana manage our election process. Poll watching is a part of that process, and it's a message that I've delivered around this country. People that are concerned about this election and about us preserving the one person, one vote that's at the very center of our American democracy should become involved, should volunteer at their neighborhood polling place. That's how we ensure the accountability. Frankly, that's how we protect the integrity of the vote for Republicans, Democrats, Independents. Everyone across the spectrum is served when we ensure that we have free and honest elections.
Okay, Governor, thanks so much. We've run out of time. Governor Mike Pence.
Thank you, John.